Okay, so as someone who's been living here for 17 years, I have consistently said that the Hong Kong Sevens is Hong Kong's best event.
Yes.
I love it. It's even as an American who did not grow up with rugby, I think it is our best live event. But I'm curious. So I guess thank you. But beyond that, you talked about kind of company purpose, but there's also a sense of individual purpose, right? And so it's not like we're close, but I've known you for a long time. You're an exceptionally busy person, right? And so I'm assuming you choose your roles very strategically, very purposefully, intentfully. And I'm curious, we talk a lot about, my belief is that serving on a board of an NGO is one of the ways that we can really tie ourselves to the community, and it brings a lot of kind of personal satisfaction. It's worth pointing out, because you did mention people view being a board member as a reward. In Hong Kong, legally speaking, if it's a registered charity, you can't receive any remuneration for your role, right? So even if it's a reward, it's not a monetary reward in the traditional sense. Why do you do it? I mean, out of all the things, all the ways you could spend your time, why do you do it? And is there any sense of kind of purpose or value that you've kind of pulled from that role?
I think so. I mean, for me, I get a lot out of these additional roles, and I get a lot out of them in multiple different ways, both in terms of opening my eyes and learning from the other people that I sit on the boards of these organisations with. Learning then in terms of what I might be able to take back to MTR, or what I can take from MTR to these other organisations. And one of the things I've realised is actually how transferable, as we get a bit older, our skills get.
Yeah.
So, you realise, well, hang on a minute, we dealt with something similar at MTR. We had to think about how to put together an ESG strategy. If the rugby union's going through the same sort of thought process, what can I take from what we learned at MTR and apply that, or share that with the management team of the rugby union, so that hopefully they don't have to go through quite so many sort of learning steps along the way. But I think it's also it's a way of giving back to the community and to the city that's kind of has given me so much. And I often say, people say, Gill, how do you find the time to do all of these different things? And I say, well, it's often the energy that I get from sitting on these outside roles that gives me the energy that I need to kind of sometimes deal with the more challenging aspects of the day job.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Okay, you said two things there that I want to drill down. Okay, so we often refer to, I've got a whole program where we refer to joining a board as an advisor, board member, whatever, for a nonprofit as a strategic side gig, right? Where it's something that you kind of strategically implement. Yes, it can be kind of purposefully selfish because you get to give back, you get to work with kids, whatever people love to do. But it's also something where, and I think it says a lot about your humility, that someone with your vast experience and knowledge, you see this as an opportunity to learn and kind of draw from it. So that's something that we counsel a lot. And actually, I think we're one of the few programs that really encourages organizations to look for board members in their 20s and stuff, because it can be mutually beneficial for both sides, because you can really learn and strategically grow into these roles and then apply it in your own professional career. But the flip side of that is that you actually are you understand the value that you have. You said the transferability of skills.
Yes.
You might be surprised to learn that the number one thing, anecdotally, but the number one thing that I've heard from people as we've encouraged them or tried to help people, even as people come to me and say, hey, I want to join a nonprofit board, how can I do that? The number one thing that they say is, I've been a lawyer for 20 years, I've been an accountant for 25 years, what could I possibly offer to an NGO? And I think the transferability of what you described, not just in terms of the technical skill of being a lawyer, being an accountant, being whatever, but also just the professional poise and expertise and communication and risk analysis, all those things are extremely transferable. So what would you say to the people out there, number one, who maybe view the direct line A to B as their career path, and you're encouraging them maybe to consider a strategic side gig and what they can learn from that. But then conversely, speaking to the person who is maybe not as confident that they would actually have something of value to offer an NGO, what would you say to those two related but different type of people?
So I think huge value in a strategic side gig. One of the best pieces of advice somebody gave me years ago was, don't be a pointed object. And which sounds a bit of I
love that.
Needs a bit of explanation, but it's kind of particularly sometimes as females, I think, and as somebody that has a professional qualification, it's very easy to rely on being the lawyer in the room. Because when we sit around the exec table at MTR, if there's a legal question, people come to me and I know the answer, and people will take that answer because it's a sort of legal yes or,
you're the
yes
expert.
or no. But if you just rely on that, then you struggle, I think, as you get more senior in organisations, because people are generally looking for people that have a slightly kind of broader mindset.
Yeah.
And so it was something that's really stuck with me throughout my career. And I think having these strategic side gigs gives you that opportunity to perhaps roll up your sleeves, to get slightly involved in different areas that you can then take back to your own organisations and support you kind of as you grow.
Yeah.
And as to the people that perhaps have a bit of kind of imposter syndrome, I would say give it a go, because know what you can contribute. You're not going to go onto a new board and suddenly be able to comment on everything that's going on. You have to do a lot of listening, I think, particularly in the first few board meetings.
Right.
And you have to learn how to be a director, because you can give advice as an independent director, but if they pick that up but they do it in a slightly different way than you would have done it, you have to be able to sit back and say, well, that's fine. Whereas if it had been at MTR, I could have directed much more the way in which it was done. So I think you've got to be prepared to listen, prepared to learn, know your own skill set and where you can genuinely kind of add the value, but then just give it a go.
Yeah.
And I think you will be, as I was, kind of pleasantly surprised at actually what transferable skills you've developed over your career.
Yeah, I have a list of 5 questions that I ask people when they come to me and they say they want to be a board member of usually of a nonprofit. And 2 of the main ones are, what skills do you have that you want to implement or
Yes.
use? And what skills do you not have that you want to develop? Because I think that really gets at the crux of it. It's like, I can help you maybe with legal knowledge because that's my background, but I'm already a lawyer. I don't want to do that all day, right? The reason why I'm doing something different is because I want to try something different. I want to gain these different skills. And that's where a lot of the energy and rejuvenation comes in as well. So thank you so much. Anything else you want to add in terms of advice?
No, I think that's been great. I would say to people, go for it.
Yeah, well, thank you to Gill. Again, we encourage everyone out there to consider the idea of a strategic side gig, getting outside of yourself, serving in the community in some capacity, whether it's as an advisor, board member, something in between. And again, just thank you for your time today.
My pleasure. Thanks, David.